Good morning, students. Welcome to day 1, class 4, the unit called Separation of Substances. Already we completed 3 units, and also I send classwork things to you. Please complete it on time. Now we are going to discuss the unit called Separation of Substances. Right. In our daily life, there are many substances when we notice a substance being separated from a mixture of materials. Right? Tea leaves are separated from the liquid with a strainer while preparing a tea. Grains are separated from stalks while harvesting. So these are the things we want to separate, because those things are needed. We are decided whether which one is needed, which one is not needed. And in this unit, we are going to see what are the types and what are the methods and why we need to do these things. All these things we are going to see, and how we can do this process also we are going to discuss in this unit. Okay. And the content we are going to discuss on today's class is about introduction, what I gave you earlier, and what's the pure and mixed substance, need for separation of substances, methods of separations. Right? In the methods of separation, the topic is entirely present in the particular topic called methods of separation. From this we are going to discuss one type of methods. Now I explain you later after in the forthcoming explanation. Okay. Now we are going to do I am going to explain the thing introduction. And so I already introduced something in our daily life. There are many instances we notice a substance being separated from mixture. Right. Before that, what are a material? What's in material? Materials are made up of very small particles or unit. Okay, maybe a small particle, a single particles which form a group of single particles which may form material, but we have some separate name for that. The small unit or particle is known as an atom. Okay, that's called an atom. Even our human body is made up of a single atom. Initially, in the womb of our mother, we are born like a single atom or a small element, a tiny element which is not visible, not invisible in our naked eye. Okay, so that particular particle is called atom. Right. A material which was made up of one or more atoms are called as molecules. Right. A material which was made up of one or more atoms are called as molecule. A group of atoms are called molecule. Okay, this is the thing. Okay, this is a small introduction about a material, because why I am explaining these things. We want to know how materials are made up of, how what are the things are initial. This is a raw material we call as எதுலேருந்து உருவானது அப்படின்றதுக்காக இந்த ஒரு இன்ட்ரோ தான். மற்றபடி we are going to see these things later, and we are going to the unit. From that unit we are going to see the separation things. Okay. Sorry. Now I am going to explain what's my pure and mixed substance. The materials that are made up of only one kind of element or more than one kind of element is in fixed ratio are called pure substance. Okay, just keep in mind, if if you take a material, it is made up of one element or one or two elements, but you know the ratio, how much of ratio the two elements are mixed. Okay, that's called fixed ratio. But if you know that ratio, that is called pure substance. Right? Very good example is water. H2O consists of 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen. Okay, if it have more than 2 hydrogen, or if we have more than 1 oxygen, we don't call it as a water. It was considered some other liquid. Okay, so the mixture be fixed ratio, and it have some what do you call it, definition. Water have some property. It should have some property, and it was known ratio. It should have a known ratio. Okay, so that is called pure substance. And mixed substance, the materials that are made up of two or more substances mixed together in any ratio. We can't define the ratio. It is not manufactured by us, and in nature also it doesn't have the property. Right? We don't able to separate it. So we will able to separate it, but in general it have different ratio of components mixed in one particular material or or a word called as a mixed ratio. A good example is air. Air is a good example, right? So in air, hence we already read these things in early class. Air is a component which consists of more amount of gases, different types of gases, dust materials, smoke substances, even small granules are present, moistures, some amount of water are present. So air is a mixed component, it doesn't have definite ratio. So this is called mixed substance, and earlier I explained about pure substance. So from this part we are going to discuss the most important topic in this unit is mixed substance, because we are going to separate the substance, we are going to separate the materials from the mixture, right? Now we are going to see what is this separation. Separation means removal of substance from mixture of two or more substances, right? So separation, because in pure substance we don't need to separate the things, but in mixture we need to separate, because maybe that thing, some materials we don't need to use a particular at some particular situation. So for that we need to do the separation work, right? Separation means removal of substance from a mixture of two or more substances, right? For example, separating stones from rice, separating tea from tea leaves, churning milk to obtain butter, right? These are some of the example of separation, and now we are going to discuss why why do we separate substances. So we need to separate substances to get some useful component. For example, you want to separate a stones from rice, right? So stones, small stones, tiny stones is not a edible plot to for human beings, not only for human beings, for any animals or any living being, right? So we need a useful component from the particular mixture, right? So to remove non-useful components, that is the thing I explained. To remove impurities or harmful components, sometimes some harmful components may present in the eatable materials, right? So for that, to remove that impurities or harmful components, we need separation, the process called separation, and to group substance of different sizes, right? So we want to group it depending upon the sizes, even sizes, color, shape. We want to differentiate. For example, orange having a size of almost oval shape, whereas mango it has some different shape and size, right? And the color is different, right? So we need to group it depend upon the size of the fruit, or depend upon the type of fruits you want to group it. So for this process, for this purpose we need the separations, right? Now we are going to discuss what are the methods of separation. There are three types of separation: separation from solids, separating solids from liquid, separating liquids from liquids. These are the three types of possibility. Even we have gases from liquids and gases from gases, but it's not belongs to your syllabus. You are going to read this thing in 9th standard. For your syllabus, they explain you only three concepts. One is separating solids from solids, separating solids from liquids, and separating liquid from liquids. Right now, we are in this class we are going to discuss detail about separating solids from solids. Okay, separating solid from solids. In this method, separation takes place in terms of color, size, shape, density, solubility, and magnetism. Okay, so how we can able to separate the solids by means of these parameters. We want to take these parameters, physical properties, right? By means of color, shape, size, density, solubility, and if it is aquatic property, we can able to separate it by means of magnetic material, right? Then most common method of separations are threshing, winnowing, hand picking, sieving, finally magnetic separation. These are the types of separation we are going to discuss on this class, and this is most common method, and it is very easy to understand the concept. Very easy, one of the easiest unit. And so as I may concern, systematic chemistry, simply like easy compared to 5th standard things what's present in 5th standard subject. Okay, very common things, but it's new for you, but it's easy to understand. Once you understand, it's very easy to write, right? Now we are going to discuss the first concept called hand picking, right? This is the picture I show you here. So see, there are some pulses are present from this, some stones, black color stones are present. The person who picked out the stones from the pulses, right? Now we are going to discuss hand picking. So suppose you are given a basket of fruits containing mangoes, apples and banana. How will you able to separate these fruits? It is easy to separate these fruits by hand picking. It's very simple concept. As I already told you, if they give some different types of fruits, we want to make it as a group, we just pick by our hand. Make it simple, right? Similarly, you would have seen your mother cleaning dal or rice before cooking. This is a dal, right? So before cooking they are cleaning. Why? What is she trying to do? She's removing the undesirable substances, right? Undesirable is the things which is not useful for to make a food, right? Undesirable substance like pieces of stones and broken grains by hand picking. This is the things happen. So by picking out undesirable substance by means of hand. If but one thing you want to keep in mind, those property should be the size of the material should be able to pick by your hand. So the size is most important thing you want to keep in mind. Right now we are going to explain what's the process, right? The process of separating undesirable solid substance or impurities from useful solids by hand. So yeah, the pulses are useful substance, then the black stones are undesirable substance. So this is the thing they explained here. Then it will be used in three situations, right? What are the situations we are going to see here? It is if the quantity of mixture is not very large, right? We can able to do this process if the quantity is not very large. If they ask you to do 1 ton of rices, how we can able to pick? It's difficult task. So the quantity of mixture is not very large. If quantity is very large, we can't able to do by your own hand, by a single person. You need a group of person. If we ask you to do by hand picking, you need at least 1 ton of rice. You may ask at least, you may need at least 100 members to do the process. So the quantity of mixture is not very large. You want to keep in mind. And if the undesirable substances differ from the usual one in shape, size or color, right? That's the thing, most important thing. If you consider that particular material is undesirable, it should differ from the usual substance, what you are going to eat or what you are going to do some process, right? In terms of size, shape or color, or otherwise you can't able to identify the material, right? Some adulterations take place in so many of the different types of material. For example, mixing of two different types of oils, how you can able to identify? In terms of solids, we can able to take mixing a good example, tea dusts. Mixing of tea dusts with some other dust, some other same color dust, we can't able to identify this. So that is a solid material. Okay, the tea dust is one of the solid material. Tea is the thing which is manufactured by tea leaves, right? If they mix a good leaf and bad leaf, we can able to identify. If they mix the powder of good leaf and bad leaf, we can't able to identify. Both are having similar color. The taste will able to identify. So one thing you want to keep in mind, undesirable substance should be differ from the shape, size or color, or otherwise you can't do this process. One is mixture of quantity should not be very large, and undesirable quantity having different shape, size or color. And the last one, if the undesirable substances are present in small quantities, that's the thing, that's the most important thing also. If the undesirable substances are in very large quantity, we can't able to do the process very easily, right? And that we want to find out the desirable substances, we want to separate the desirable substances, it's difficult task. So undesirable substances should present in small quantities, or this is a difficult task to identify. We can't do this process by using hand picking method, right? The next method we are going to see is sieving, and this is the method we are going to use in construction sites to separate stones and pebbles from sands, right? You could have also seen sieves being used at home. Your mother or grandmother separates the bigger particles in wheat flour, that is atta, by sieving method, right? Your grandmother may, if you are able to help your mother or grandmother, you can able to see while doing what do you call, if they if you buy atta or wheat flour from the shop, they may do the sieving process, because some impurities may present. They may also add some impurities, or otherwise unknowingly some impurities may add in the wheat flour. So those things should be removed, right? So by using the process called sieving, we can able to remove the undesirable quantities, right? The process separating the components of mixture which are in different sizes and also different in materials, different in the mixtures, right? So if the size is different, the component mixture the size is different, we can able to separate it by using the process called sieving. In the sieving, this what do you call the sieving machine, maybe we call this machine. Machine is not a. We don't think machine means it should have some motors or machine is the thing which used to make our process simple. So we call it as a machine. In this machine, there is some fine holes are present. Yeah, in this sieving machine we have some fine holes are present, right? So by using the holes we can able to separate the impurities which is present in the wheat flour, that is atta, right? A flour which is very fine particles, right? And if you have some impurities, it may deposit in the top layer of this machine, sieving machine, right? So this process used to remove some stones and pebbles in construction, and also this machine is used to remove some unwanted materials in the wheat flours and sometimes in rice flour also, right? And the next process we are going to discuss is called threshing. If you visit, I mean, if you are able to visit some village, still these processes take place in the villages. They do this process in all the villages. They do these things. If they have some agriculture field, they do this process. Sometimes, mostly by removing grains from the rice stalk, they use this process, right? Yeah. Have you ever visited a wheat or paddy field after the crop has been harvested? What's the harvesting? That's the thing we want to mean. We want to keep it. We want to know. Harvesting means cutting the crop from the field, right? After the crop yield is get its adult position, or else it yield some grains. We are cutting the crop for our purpose to collect some grains from the crops, and we are going to make it as food to eat for our daily life, right? So for this harvesting means the cutting the crop from the field. The grains are attached to these stalks which are put together in bundles, right? So what they do, they didn't do this process by single stacks, right? They are make it as a bundle like this, what the lady is doing, right? They make it as a bundle, then they fold by using some threads, right? And what they are going to do, the process separating grain from the stalk, right? How they are going to separate the stalk, that we are going to see, right? First of all, we want to know the process called threshing. What's in the threshing that we are going to discuss? The process separating grain from the stalk is threshing. It was done by three possible ways. One is by weighting the stalk with sticks on the ground. So they are doing the process like they weighting the stalk. Maybe they were beating. We can able to do this process by using the sticks, but they are not doing by sticks. They have folded the stalks in a bundle, then they strike the stalks in the ground on the ground, right? This is one method, and this is also one method by mating the stalks with sticks on the ground, and by allowing animals like bullock to trample the stalks. Trample na மிதிக்கிறதுன்னு அர்த்தம், trample, right? So now in some villages I also came to see some of the process of nowadays they are not using animals. Now they simply put the stalks in the ground on the road, and the moving equipment can able to separate the stalk from the grains. That pressure is given by the tire in the vehicle. So in early days they use bullocks to trample the stalks, right? The last one, by using machines. This is the most important thing. Nowadays we are upgraded our technology. So nowadays we are not using the above two things. Very rarely we are using animals, but as beating the stalks with the sticks on the ground is generally happen. Now if you have some money to buy some machines, you have machines to remove the stalks from the ground, right? And the next one, the next important process called winnowing. Winnowing is a method used to separate lighter component of mixture from the heavier ones by wind or by blowing air. Okay, so it's a process of removing lighter component from the heavier one. So one thing is the lighter component is a useful one, sometimes the heavier one is useful one. See here, the lady is separating wheat from the thing what they have in the basket, right? They just blow the basket, I mean they just blow the wheat from the basket. Then with the help of air, the lighter particles is removed away uh, from the heavier particles. The heavier particles is a useful one, that is called wheat material, which we can use to make a wheat flour, and we can able to make it as a heatable one, right? So here this is the process, and it is used by farmers to separate husk from grain. That is called husk, right? I forgot to mention the name called, and impurities which is present in the grain, that is called husk. Right, husk is the outer layer of the grain. That's a very simple thing. Husk is the outer layer of the grain. Even the rice, paddy grain, the outer layer is called as husk. The inner one is called as a rice. The outer layer is called husk. Right, that husk is removed by doing the process winnowing. Because of the husks are very lighter than the grain. So by doing the process of winnowing, the blowing air will able to separate the husk from the grains, right? And those husks also will used will deposited, we collected, and later it will deposited, and those husks are used as a animal feeder, right? Those husks are also used to give as a food for animals. Okay, so those are also collected, and the remaining heavier particle used for us, we use that material as a food, whereas husk material is used as a food for animals, right? So that's all about these four categories. This is used to separating the solid from solids. Okay, and now we're going to tell you what are the one more thing is there. Sorry, I forgot to mention magnetic separation. This is also most important method to use to separate solid material, two different solid materials. Okay, magnetic separation substances can be separated by using bar magnet like this. Okay, scrap of iron can be separated from waste material using huge bar magnets in industry. Like magnetic substances is a very simple thing. We are separating the process of separating magnetic substances from the non-magnetic materials, simple, right? Why we need to do these things, right? We may able to separate magnetic substance because iron is a magnetic substance, whereas by separating iron from the ore, we need to do the magnetic separation process, or otherwise we can't able to get the pure iron material from the ore. What is in the ore is a raw material we took from the mountain, or might be in the underground of earth, right? So those things should not be used directly. We want to separate the material by doing the process, right? So if it is a magnetic substance, we can able to separate it. Sometimes we can able to get the magnet from the sand also, right? Because what you call a granuled man is not difficult to identify. But if you keep a bar magnet nearer to the sand materials, it can able to attract some material from the sand. Those materials are magnetic material. So like that also you can do. Here there are two different materials, one is iron and one is sulfur. They mix with each other, and then finally they separate by using a horseshoe magnet. Then they separate those two in some different vessels, right? So this is also another method used in this, not generally used most of the things, but here this method is used in most of the industries, but not by using hand picking like they may use bar magnet. They are not using any bar magnet. There are some different machines to do this magnetic separation process, but this is not belongs to your syllabus. But anyway, this is one of the method to separate solid from solids, right? I just like to explain this thing also, right? And yeah, that is the thing I explained. Also, separation of sand and iron films can be separated by this process, separating solids from liquids. There are 6 types. I am not going to explain these things today. We are going to explain these things on next class, but we want to know what are the types of separations able to used to separate solid from liquid. Sedimentation process, decantation process, filtration process, evaporation process, loading, centrifugation process. So that's all about today's class, right? And both there are 6 methods which used to separate the solid from liquid, right? And now today I'm going to give some of the keywords to you, right? Because I want to make our work easy, because most of people are came late to attend the online class very late. After completing two units, I completing almost 3 units. Now only new students will be joined to join in a school for the continuation of the year, right? So I want to make you burden, so I give this class work separately. On each class I am going to give the content. Okay, do it on time and send it to my personal WhatsApp number. Don't put it in a group. It's very difficult to identify the subject. Some of the students can able to mention the subject, but most of them not mention the subject. How you can able to identify it? Because you are submitting the classwork on a single day. Most of them are not mentioning the subject, and very few are getting correction from me. At our next class onwards, are going to note down it. Okay, if you have failed to send me through my WhatsApp number, I definitely post the name who are not submitting the classwork. Okay, through the WhatsApp general WhatsApp number, because if you are not aware, I remind you one thing. In our group, our principal is present. If you have any doubt, you just check it. It's not an issue. In our group, our principal is present. If you fail to submit it on time, you are going to face a problem. Okay, so do the work on time. And I'm not giving much work to you. Only 6 or 7 keywords are going to give it to you. Write it neat and write neatly and give proper presentation and send it to my WhatsApp number. If you fail to submit it, I definitely post a name in the group. You're going to face a problem. Okay. So today's class is completed. Next class onwards, we are going to see separation of solids from liquids. Okay. Very good morning, student. Welcome to day 2 class for a unit called Separation of Substances. In today's class, we are going to discuss 3 topics: separation of solids from liquids, separation of liquids from liquids, and the mind map for the entire unit, right? Now we are going to see what are the things present in separating solid from liquids. In early class itself, I just introduced the topics what we are going to discuss in next class. Those are sedimentation, decantation, filtration, evaporation, centrifugation, right? These are things. Even condensation process is related with this content. I forgot to mention here. So that thing also we want to include here. So these are the things which we separate solids from liquids. Okay, these are the process we can use to separate solid from liquids. The first topic is called sedimentation, and because why I'm adding decantation, the remaining things process in this sedimentation process, decantation process also add. So only add all these 2 pictures here. One more filtration that I explain in next slide. Anyway, the picture is present here. Now we are going to explain what is sedimentation. Sedimentation is a physical water treatment process using gravity to remove suspended solids from water. See here, you have a beaker which contains water, and they pour some sand. They mix some sand in the water, right? What happens while you shaking the water? You think that if you are holding the beaker in your hand, it may be a small beaker. Just shake it. What happened? The water be like a contaminated water. Then just settle down for some time, maybe 1 or 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes, or possibly 5 minutes. What happened? The salt material, the sand material which is present in the water will sediment will deposit in the bottom of the layer of beaker, right? Bottom of layer of beaker. That process is called sedimentation. So சும்மாவே அந்த தண்ணி வச்சிருந்தா அந்த தண்ணி கீழே சேருது இல்லைங்களா, அது வந்து sedimentation சொல்லுவோம். The deposition of solid materials because of the gravity. of the solid materials which is deposited in the bottom of the beaker, that is called sedimentation. And what is decantation? It is the process of pouring out the liquid or water without disturbing the sedimentation. See here, the precipitation is nothing but a solid which is mixed in the water, which is we in the process of decantation we just separate the water from the unwanted solid which is present in the liquid, right? The removing of water alone, that is called decantation. The process separating solid materials from water is called sedimentation. Not a difficult task. While keeping these things depend upon the gravity, the solid particle will deposit in the bottom layer. If it deposits, that process of sedimentation, it has some benefits. You can able to read these things in very detail in 9th standard. I won't disturb these things. I won't pour so much of concept in this particular content. Just know this. This is an introduction for this unit. I mean, an introduction about the topic. Just know the topic. We'll learn very detail in 9th standard. But the thing is, we are going to separate solid from liquid by keeping the liquid for some time period. We want to give some space for the deposition of the solid material, and if you remove the liquid from the solid, that process is called decantation. And filtration, we already did these things. We have some idea about the filtration. Hence we and in the first class, while giving introduction, I very clearly tell you, we use filter to remove. While making a tea, we want to add, we only add the we want to take the juice from the tea dust, right? So you want to remove the tea dust from the juice. So what the things you want to use? You want to use a filtered paper or a filter cloth, right? So that is called filtration. A simple process. Like we have some beautiful application in the filtration process that we are going to discuss very soon. I mean, in higher classes. But the thing is, filtration, the process by which two substances are separated by using a filter, is called filtration. That two substances, one is nothing but solid, another one is liquid, right? So this is about the filtration, sedimentation and decantation. The next process is called evaporation and condensation. The process of converting liquid into its vapor is called evaporation. So what the thing is present here is a salt water, right? So some materials we can't able to separate by using the process of sedimentation, decantation. Some liquids are is a soluble, some solids are soluble one, right? As a soluble solution, right? Some miscible solution. You can't able to identify the solid material present in the liquid. So for this we need this process, evaporation and condensation. What they are doing, they are just boiling the water which contain more amount of salt material, right? They just boil the water. What happens? The water which is present in the in the salty water, the movable things, that is the water in the salt water, the only material which will convert it into vapor is a liquid material. That's nothing but a water, right? So what happens? It will convert it into a liquid. Later we want to close it here. They do some condensation process that I explain later. So what happened? The salt in the water will sediment, or else it will deposit in the bottom of the layer. Hence, this is a soluble solution, it's a miscible solution. We can't able to find out the salt and water separately. So while doing this, so what I explained you earlier, that we are going to separate the liquid and the solid. I mean, in the soluble solution, that's miscible solution, we are going to separate liquid and solid separate by using the process called evaporation, right? Condensation, the process of converting water vapor into liquid is called condensation. For this process, we need some cooling process which will be able to convert the vapor into a liquid material. Okay, that process is called condensation process. So what happened? We just converted that gas material, that vapor material, into a liquid formation. In this liquid formation, we don't have any salt material, because all the salt materials are sedimented, deposited in the beaker while doing the process of evaporation. So this is the process what I like to explain in evaporation and condensation. That is the thing is present, but we have some different application that I explain you later after completing all this process, right? Because this particular application used in our not in day to life, for some particular application that I explain you. And this is evaporation and condensation. Next topic is called centrifugation, and most important topic, the process separating lighter and heavier particles in the liquid by rotating on the liquid in a machine is called centrifugation, right? And this is not belongs this thing is not present in your book, but anyway, this is also come under the topic called separating solid from liquid, right? While doing this process, what they are doing is, see here a person who keep one uh, what you call a glass tube in one machine. That this machine is called centrifugation machine. What this machine able to do? It will rotate the particular glass tube for some constant speed. Okay, what happened later? It will separate the liquid into like this. Here this process used to separate particles which is present in the blood in our human blood. Okay, what are things present in our human blood? Plasma is 55% and white blood corpuscles, leukocytes is less than 1%, and 40% we have erythrocytes, that is nothing but red blood corpuscles, that is RBC. The upper layer is the WBC, then upper layer is called plasma. Okay, this the thing is present in the liquid of a blood, and this is the shortest format. You have some other things also. You have some water materials are present in blood. Okay, so the process centrifugation is used to separating a lighter particle from the liquid itself. Okay, so in the liquids by doing the centrifugation process, by rotating the liquid in the machine, this machine is called centrifugation machine, and we be able to separate the lighter particles very easily. Okay, and this is the things present in centrifugation. In this process, these processes generally used to separate lighter particles in the blood material, and also in some other liquids also, like in butter. How much amount of fats are present in the butter, that we can also able to find out by using the process called centrifugation. Okay, and that's all about so this is centrifugation and distillation. So distillation, even centrifugation is to separate liquid from liquid, and distillation is generally used to separate liquid from liquid. What is the liquid from liquid? And this is the thing, action of purifying a liquid by process of heating and cooling. Okay, so we are going to purify the liquid. Here also they use salt water here. In evaporation and decantation process or a condensation process, I just make it to do in that activities they use only salt water. Even sugar water also they can able to separate. In distillation process, in that process, in evaporation condensation process, we may lose some water particles, because by doing the condensation process we are not having some separate apparatus arrangement. But in distillation process, it's a complete arrangement which able to convert all the gas materials with all the vapor material which is evaporated while doing the process of boiling. Okay, no other gases will escape from the boiling container. So only they use distillation process, very precise type of conversion of liquids to liquids, and we get a pure liquid formation, pure water formation, right? And what they're doing, they are boiling. Hence, I already told you, distillation process is purifying the liquid by process of heating and cooling, right? In this process, we are not losing any type of any vapor. What the thing is happening in condensation process, and distillation process is very precise process which able to convert all the liquid particles, all the vapor particles into liquid particles, and we can able to get a pure liquid, right? What the process explained here, they have some boiling salt water which is boiled by using what you call a fire, it's nothing but a burner. I forgot a burner. It boiled the water. Then what happened? The vapor was collected in a glass tube. A separate glass tube is come out from the container vessel, and then here we have a separate arrangement. What the arrangement it is? Which consists of a tube which having two water in water out arrangement. What the water in water out arrangement? This water in water arrangement, we have we are going to send some cold water to this arrangement, but inside we have one separate glass tube. We are not disturbing the inside glass tube, because that inside glass tube having water vapor. So hence we know that in condensation process, very clearly mentioned, after evaporation they use some ice cubes there, right? So what the purpose of ice cube? Which convert that vapor material, water vapor, into water, that is gas into liquid. So for this process we are going to use some outlet water, right? This water will send in and it will send out from the top layer of this vessel. This arrangement, what it do, it will condense the coming out water vapor into a liquid formation, right? So what the thing is exactly present, what the difference between salt water and the water which is came out from the water vapor which is come out from this salt water vessel, because this boiling salt water having this salt which is present in the boiler, which having some salt material, whereas the vapor material which is come out from the vessel, which in a beaker, it doesn't have any salt content. Okay, so while doing the process of condensation, we get a pure liquid which doesn't contain any salt material. Not only salt material, it having a pure water which doesn't have bacteria and also virus material. So this process is used for so many application. Distillation process used in so many application to get pure water, and this pure water having it doesn't have any of the contagion, I mean what you call any of the germ material which is present, which normally present in the water, and it doesn't contain any salt material. So it's a pure and it's good for drinking. Okay, and the next topic will be called as saturated solution. That's all about separation of liquid and liquid. Centrifugation and distillation is actually centrifugation is come under both solid and liquid, and liquid to liquid. Distillation is generally used for liquid to liquid conversion. Fractional distillation is also present, and that process is very deep. If I am explaining, it takes so much of time, and it's not belongs to it, so neglected that fractional distillation. But distillation is a principle for fractional distillation also, but the arrangement of vessel is very different. That's the thing. Now the last topic in this unit is saturated solution, a solution which cannot dissolve further amount of solute at a particular temperature is called saturated solution. In this, see from the right to left, okay, the vessel which contains water material, we can put some salt material. In second mid of these two, we have some solid material. In third, we can't able to put so much of solid material, because that is the point that liquid can able to soluble the particular solid material, right? And that point is called saturated solution. அதாவது இதுக்கு மேலே நம்ம போட்டு நம்ம கரைச்சோன்னா அந்த பர்டிகுலர் சாலிட் வந்து கரையாது. அந்த பர்டிகுலர் பாயிண்ட் தான் சேச்சுரேட்டட் பாயிண்ட்னு சொல்லுவோம். அதுக்கு மேலே அதால் கரைக்க முடியாது. தட் பாயிண்ட் இஸ் கால்ட் சேச்சுரேட்டட் சொல்யூஷன், ரைட்? ஸோ the liquid which very clearly mentioned, which cannot dissolve further amount of solute. The solvent which cannot dissolve further amount of solute at particular temperature, that is called saturated solution. இதுக்கு மேலே நீங்கள் போட்டிங்கன்னா அதை நீங்கள் கரைக்கவே முடியாது. டெம்பரேச்சர் மாற்றினா மட்டுமே அது சாத்தியம். பட் here we can't do any boiling process, right? So that's the thing is present about saturated solution. அதுக்கு மேலே போட்டானா அதை கரைக்க முடியாது. அந்த பாயிண்ட்ன்றது saturated point. Okay, so that is called saturated solution. The next one, separation using more than one method, that I have told you, right? Evaporation, condensation process. This process generally used to separate salt from seawater. This is the thing they're doing. They're just separating a liquid from sea, and later they just sweep out salt from the seawater, which is separated like a bed. Okay, in this seabed they easily separate out salt from the seawater. Okay, so that's all about the separation using more than one method. This process very useful, and in day-to-day life we are separating salt from the seawater by using this process, by using condensation and evaporation method. Okay, and finally we come to conclusion session for today's class, and this is the things we are going to discuss earlier. Mind map for the separation of substances. Methods of separation. What are the methods of separation we discussed? Sedimentation, decantation, filtration. These are all liquids or liquids. Hand picking, threshing, winnowing, sieving, and evaporation and condensation. The above three, the first three are solid to liquid conversion. The evaporation and condensation, and even distillation and centrifugation. Centrifugation belongs to both solid and liquid. Evaporation, condensation, and distillations belongs to separation of liquid from liquids. Okay, and these are things. And sedimentation, decantation, filtration, I already told you, we are going to separate insoluble solid from the liquid mixtures. We are separating insoluble solids from the liquid material mixtures, and hand picking, separating slightly larger impurities by doing by picking from our hand itself. So because you can able to find out uh, through our naked eye, that process by doing our hand, and those things are did by hand, and those things should be seen by our naked eye. So that then only we can able to do, and these process having some limitation, we can't able to do this process if it is a large quantity, right? So those process having some limitation, that is also yes discussed earlier. And threshing, separating grains from stalks, is generally used to remove grains from stalks, right? And thus also we discussed in earlier class, threshing is removing, separating grains from stalks, and winnowing, separating heavier and lighter components. Nothing but after threshing we are doing winnowing process. Winnowing is nothing but removing husk from the grains, right? Those husk can also used as food material for animals, whereas grain we can use it as food material for we will use it as food materials, right? Removing husk from grain, that is heavier and lighter component, by blowing some air, or also by blowing some air. That's the thing that we can want to explain, blowing some air, or else by using natural air, a natural wind, that is called as winnowing. And sieving, separating impurities from fine particles. So hand picking you can remove if the particle is very large, but sieving is removed if the particle is very small, right? By doing what you call salad, and that component, that machine is called salad. That machine is having a filter paper like material. It may be made up of silver, or maybe a maybe a fabric, and which we can able to separate the powdered material from the solid materials. I mean very fine solid materials, which can able to separate very fine solid material from the powder materials, right? So these are the process we discuss in separating solid from solids. And the final one is separating soluble liquid in liquid mixtures. Soluble liquid in sense miscible liquid, that is salt mixed in water, sugar mixed in water, some other things which is miscible. Okay, so those things are separated by using this process, right? அதாவது டோட்டலாக அது கரைஞ்சிரும், அதை நம்ம டேஸ்ட் பண்ணுறப்போ தான் ரியலைஸ் பண்ணுவோம், கண்ணால் பார்த்தா தெரியாது. ஸோ அந்த மாதிரியான ப்ராசஸ், அந்த மாதிரியான லிக்விட்ஸ் நம்ம செப்பரேட் பண்ணுறதுக்கு evaporation, condensation, one more thing we discussed, that is distillation. So in the process use பண்ணி we can able to separate that soluble solid in liquid mixture, right? And saturated solution, finally we discuss saturated solution. So that is the point, we can't able to mix further solids in the liquid. ஸோ அதுக்கு மேலே நம்மள மிக்ஸே பண்ண முடியாது, அது பேர் தான் சேச்சுரேஷன் சொல்லுவோம், that we call as saturated solution. Okay, that's all about today's class. And I already told you, right, in early class itself, only 5 of them are sent the homework. Durvan, Prajan, and Vinu, Pratika, Ashini, Anush, and one more boy. I have the name list. So these are things, those people are sent the homework to me. What about remaining? So I gave the name list to principal. Okay, if you need, I don't know when you are going to face a consequence. So today I am going to send this mind map alone. And we have one more thing, that is book back question and answer. Later I will give explanation, I give the book back question and answer. But today I am going to send this mind map. I hope you will able to complete those things, and you can able to send those things, and after completing, after go through this video. Expecting, if you fail to send me today itself, I update the list. Definitely I will give it to principal. At now I am not sending the list to principal. I give one more chance to you people, and I am not giving much hope to it as on my concern. Even I am separating the work very clearly, and I am helpless. I am sorry, I am going to give the name to principal if you have failed to submit it on before Saturday. Okay, and thank you.